This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the Week in Review on the WWE Podcast. It is Saturday, as I record this, actually. It's a Saturday night. I'm doing it a little bit early, but releasing it on the typical time frame. So to you, it's not early, but to me it is. And I hope all of you are doing well as we are closing in on WrestleMania 39. 3 weeks away now. Wham. Like that, right? It is coming up very quickly, and we still don't have confirmation of a couple of matches, although I think we all know specifically what I'm talking about. Two, in particular, of the Intercontinental Championship situation. And we have the still yet to be announced Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens versus the Usos matchup at WrestleMania. But they'd have to wrap that up in the next week. You can't announce it the week before. You need some promotion. So I know that they're playing the cat and mouse game, specifically with Kevin Owens. But, come on. Let's just get to it. We all know you're getting to it. So let's just do it and get to the match that we all knew was going to happen 4 months ago, sadly. And I say sadly, not as a disrespect, but just as a bit of a disappointment for many of us who thought Sami could possibly squeeze into the main event of WrestleMania. That's obviously not happening. But, it still is a really good story. It continues to be a really good story. And we're going to dive into Jey's explanation, which was just brilliantly done by Jey, who continues to be the unsung hero of the bloodline, and it's just there's still so much story to tell of whenever this group breaks, who goes where, who turns babyface, who challenges Roman. Can one of the bloodline members themselves take down Roman? There's a lot that could happen, and this storyline is, whether you love it or hate it, is one of the most successful storylines that they've ever put out ever in the history of the company. And not the most, but one of. So there's still a lot of story to tell. And for the first time, I heard Paul Heyman on TV this week say that, Roman for nearly 1,000 days. So 1,000 is already being mentioned. Told you. They said nearly. Roman is on 920 or 930. After WrestleMania, it'd be 950 or so. As I said, at the end of May is when Roman Reigns will crown himself the 1,000-day champion. If again, I'd just be very surprised if they get 98% of the way, and actually specifically 95% of the way to Roman getting to 1,000, and then they cut it short at Mania. It just doesn't make sense to me. So we'll break that all down. And actually, for patrons, those of you who are on the SmackDown tier and higher, got a little special treat for you coming up this week, as I will be giving you my early predictions for WrestleMania, diving in match by match. I normally wait until the week of, and things could change over the next few weeks as matches get added or stipulations get added or tweaked or whatever. Obviously my final predictions will come the week of because of all the said changes, but I want to be able to give a little value to those in the SmackDown tier and higher in the Patreon team, and I think that it's going to be fun as we dive into match by match what I think is going to happen at WrestleMania 39. So that'll be coming this week for those of you on Patreon. So let's, what I'll dive into first is the Intercontinental Championship situation this past week. And that is an interesting situation from the perspective of fans actually chanting for the triple threat for the screwy finish of the Fatal 5-Way. And then WWE going back and saying, no, it's going to be a challenger and making it singular. And Gunther going to Adam Pearce and saying challenger, right? And making sure that it doesn't become a triple threat, which is always, first of all, that's smart on Gunther's part, something you don't often see. And having the story be that Adam Pearce has so much to think about, this is going to take a lot of time to resolve. No, it's really not. I mean, just based on the intelligence level that you have to have in a kayfabe sense to be an official or general manager or commissioner of a show, is very low. I mean, the solutions always present themselves. You never have to think about anything. And my question about that, though, the Fatal 5-Way, I'll dive into that, was, I thought, really good. I thought that the wrestling was really good. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus being the focal point of that match. And the ending, though, while it was a very well done match, I thought, just technically sound, easy to follow, why was there a second referee there? And I'm asking that because I genuinely don't know, and perhaps I missed it. What was the purpose of the second referee being at ringside? Was somebody feigning an injury? And if so, when has a referee come in to... I've just never seen it before, where a referee comes in where they're not the actual officials assigned to the match, and that second referee also counts the 3. I mean, you're not assigned to the match. The other referee is not incapacitated. Why are you counting the 3? Now, I just... And really, secondly, why did a second referee even need to be involved? Because the pin was happening whether or not the referee was there. Sheamus and Drew both hit their respective finishes. They both made the cover. So even if a second referee wasn't involved, the pin would have still existed. There's still video evidence of the pin. You know, it's like, I don't know why a second referee had to be involved. I think that was a little bit overthought from the perspective of, number one, why did the referee decide to get in the ring and do this? Why was there a second referee at ringside, number 2? And number 3, even if there wasn't a second referee, you could have still made this same claim. But I was surprised at the fact that they didn't immediately go to a triple threat. And I know this actually disappoints some people, and there's, I think, a solid case to be made for both. Because Gunther and Sheamus had one of the best matches I've seen in many years, as we all know. Clash at the Castle. And Sheamus has had a very, very productive year. One of the most productive years in his career in a long time. And you would think that he's deserving of getting some kind of match by himself or, at the bare minimum, a triple threat with Drew for the Intercontinental Championship. You know that Drew and Gunther work very well together. There's no doubt. It's a great WrestleMania matchup. And Drew's kind of, not the third wheel, but he's the new ingredient that you could say, well, we've seen Sheamus and we've seen Gunther. It's like, well, no, Drew's involved this time, right? But now what they've done is taken the road of singular championship contender, not contenders, and it's going to be next week, Drew versus Sheamus. The winner of that faces Gunther at WrestleMania. And I'm torn, though, on what I want to see. I really am. I don't think there's a wrong way to go. I just feel bad for Sheamus because he's not going to win next week. Let's be honest. He's not. Gunther is going to face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, which I think is fun. That's a really fun, good match. But I do feel for Sheamus in this regard because of, all he's contributed this year and the quality of matches he's contributed and the groups he's formed. And he's had some really good moments, really great matches this year. And so if he's left off the card and he's just, an outside cheerleader for someone or becomes a part of a, messy brawl of some sort and doesn't have the spotlight solo on him for any part of WrestleMania, I will feel for him. So, but the question is, Drew or Gunther, who wins? And what's the crowd support like? Gunther has the respect of the fans, and Gunther is, without question, a future world champion. Whenever Roman decides to drop that championship, and, again, whenever that is, Gunther's in the conversation. And at the same time, though, I don't want to see him lose the Intercontinental Championship. He just fits that role perfectly. He fits it just to a T, and he's adding so much value, and it doesn't feel like it's been that long. Some reigns feel so long and dragged out. Gunther does not feel like he's held it for over, 200 and some days? 250 days, whatever it is. It doesn't feel that long. And I also have noticed that when they give us these numbers for streaks of the Intercontinental Championship, for the Tag Team Champion, there must be the Tag Team Championship that is oddly also defended by separate belts, even though it's unified. I don't get it. I've noticed that it doesn't, number-wise, seem that long because of Roman Reigns' 20, 30-day run that he's on right now. And you're thinking, oh, well, it's only 250 days. Oh, it's only, whatever. And you're thinking back, though, if you took Roman Reigns' title reign out, these championship runs by Gunther and by the Usos would seem like an eternity. Not in a bad way, but just because the Roman Reigns nearly 3-year run wouldn't exist. So when you hear, again, it's just because in my mind I compare them and I shouldn't. But that said, Gunther is on a hell of a run. And I love everything about the dude and the way he works, the way he looks, how just his voice, his demeanor, just everything. And I actually don't know if I want to see Drew beat him at WrestleMania. I actually would say no. I'd be a bit disappointed if they do, because I feel like Gunther's just getting going. And for Drew to capture it, we know what we have in Drew. We have a main eventer you can stick in at any time. He's a proven world champion. He could be your champion at any time. He's a good, sometimes very good promo. He never, almost never puts on bad matches. Can't remember a bad match he's put on. He is what you'd want at the top of your card. He's just a polished performer from top to bottom. So for him to win the IC belt, I mean, it's not a bad thing, because again, it would show the importance of these secondary belts that are being regarded as the, especially on Raw, the top, one of the top championships, because Roman Reigns is holding the top 2 championships hostage. And Drew winning, in theory, it's not bad, but Gunther is the one that needs it more. He's the one that isn't really established yet in the minds of all fans. He still needs to continue to chip away and to establish himself and be consistent on TV and start to maybe cut more promos. Like, he just fits the bill so well, and him as IC champion on SmackDown feels like a pillar of the show, doesn't it? Drew is a great addition, but I don't think it's not necessary for him to win just to give a babyface a win. I don't know. So, but again, those of you on Patreon will get my full early WrestleMania card predictions coming up this week. All right, let's continue on with other things that happened on. Again, focus on SmackDown's pretty heavy. Let's talk about, what do we want to talk about? Boy, what do we do? You know what I'm going to talk about? Something that didn't even happen on the show that's striking. And it's an absence. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Unless I blinked and missed it, where the hell were they? Where's Ronda Rousey? It's 3 weeks until WrestleMania and change. Right? You got a little more than that. And you don't have Ronda Rousey, one of your biggest stars, on TV? What? Again, I'm not a Ronda Rousey fan, and I don't really miss her. I think that the women's division has shown that they can thrive without her. But it's very striking that, Ronda Rousey and Shayna were getting a little momentum. It looked like they were going to challenge for the tag belts, and then they just poof into thin air. It's just, I don't get it. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They'll probably show up next week and they'll find a tag match for them or something. I don't know. But that was just a very notable absence. I came out for Raw and I'm like, or Raw SmackDown. I'm like, wait, where the hell's Ronda? Where's Shayna? Doesn't Shayna miss being introduced for a singles match with Ronda's music? But all right, let's get to Dominic and Rey, and then I'll talk about Jey Uso. Can we also, this is another cat and mouse game. They're playing like 3 cat and mouse games right now just to set up WrestleMania. We don't have the payoff of the match yet. Just get us the match. Stop screwing around. And that is Rey and Dominic. Dominic interrupts Rey's announcement of being the first inductee into the 2023 class for the Hall of Fame. And the video package ran. Rey comes out. Very quickly, he's interrupted by Dominic. Says to his father that he wishes after Dominic had a match, I should say. Dominic had a match with Legado del Fantasma, right? Because it was a 6-person tag of Dominic, Finn, and Damian versus Santos, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro. Zelina Vega, it was really nice to see her, by the way. And the match was good. Yeah, I really enjoyed this matchup, actually. But the real point of this, as so many times have been whenever Rey and Dominic are in the same universe, is Rey being taunted by his son. And where I was going before the match, this 6-person tag match happened, was that we had Dominic tell Rey that he wishes Eddie was his father, and Rey is still somehow being hurt and saying, that you take that back. You don't really mean that. It's like, dude, your son has been punking you out for a year, nearly. It feels like. Probably less than that. But it feels like, let's just say for months. That's more accurate. And he's been shoving you and attacking you. Where is the respect for yourself and your family? I don't care who it is at this point. It's self-defense, bro. I don't know. I mean, I'm tired of Rey playing the good guy and being backed into a corner, and only when all other options have been exhausted will he fight his son, and there's no option. I get it. I understand it. But the cat and mouse game, it's time. Let's move forward. Just like Kevin Owens aligning with Sami Zayn. Can we just get to it so we can start talking about the match? I'm just ready. I'm ready for it. Kind of same thing here. And this is a match we've been talking about for a long time. Rey and Dom. And it's going to be a fun match. No doubt about it. It's going to be interesting to see, though, what is the final straw? What breaks the camel's back for Rey? What is it? And do you wonder, too, I thought about this. Do you think they would dare have Dominic interrupt Rey Mysterio's Hall of Fame induction ceremony? I don't think they will, because there is no storyline that could, I don't think, overshadow or be more important than what's going on at the Hall of Fame. It's not a storyline place, and that's a night before Mania. You'd have the card set by then anyway. So, I don't know. I just thought about that, but what is it? Does Dominic have to go and threaten his wife, or really Dom's mom? Well, what has to happen? What is it? Because clearly just beating your dad up and your dad's too cowardly to fight back is not enough. And it's making me lose respect for Rey, I got to say. I'm just tired of watching him, having just no set of balls, and just I understand it. You're my son, but sometimes it's tough love, my friend. And when somebody is routinely beating you down, I don't care who they are. Have some self-respect. The time for respect and patience and tolerance is over. It's been over. So this should have happened weeks ago, but they were going to wait until the 11th hour, it looks like. And again, I like the story. Dominic is a transformed human being, a transformed man, from just irrelevant and annoying in a tag team to one of the biggest heels in the company. So, again, this is all fun. I really am going to enjoy Rey and Dom. I think this is going to be a really good match. All right. But, they still haven't announced anyone else for the Hall of Fame other than Rey, but more will come. They announced that Jimmy Allen, country singer, never heard of him, will perform America the Beautiful on WrestleMania Sunday. And let's see, Adam Pearce was approached by Charlotte. Charlotte was looking for competition. And we'll get to that match in a minute. But the next match on the card was the Viking Raiders versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet. And the mention of or Cole did mention the Usos approaching 600 days, or they already had reached 600 days as the United States, the Unified Tag Team Champions. And this was a decent match, and I say decent in that the wrestling was good. I like how the finish of Ivar with the splash made sense. It wasn't a near fall. It was a finish, and it should be given his size. So the Viking Raiders get the victory, but in a way that was weird. We had Valhalla put a spell on Ricochet. That's how it was put to us by Michael Cole. I mean, why a spell? Okay, first of all, that's not how I would have interpreted it at all. Okay, I would not have interpreted that as a spell. There was nothing weird other than she held her hand out. And Ricochet didn't act like he was under some kind of, some kind of mesmerization. Like he just backed away in a little bit of fear. That wasn't a spell. The word spell should never be used in pro wrestling, ever. I'm not watching, Hocus Pocus, okay? I'm watching wrestling. When I say Hocus Pocus, I'm talking about the movie. The Sanderson sisters. That's what I think of. So that was no need for that. Good God. But the good thing is that the Viking Raiders got the victory here. Because the Viking Raiders, I think, have put themselves, or creative has put them, on a very nice path to the tag team championships. Very nice. Because you can have the Viking Raiders presumably feud with Sami and Kevin if they beat the Usos at WrestleMania. The Viking Raiders have reestablished and reestablished themselves as dominant, as a force to be reckoned with. Valhalla, I don't even know what to think of her. I really don't know what she is, or I don't know what Sarah Logan is doing here. I have no clue. Other than she wears weird kind of wildling, there's a Game of Thrones reference for you, outfits. So, whatever. The good part about it is the Viking Raiders look really good in this. The Viking Raiders got the victory, and that to me was the most important. All right. We're going to get Charlotte Flair versus Shotzi in a non-title match. As Charlotte was asking for a match, we had Adam Pearce say, "I'll find a suitable opponent," and Shotzi apparently is the suitable opponent in her Power Wheels tank. I don't know how you guys like this. I really don't. I don't understand the Power Wheels tank. It's just a gimmick for gimmick's sake. It's the TCB tank, whatever that. I know what TCB stands for, taking care of business. But what does that mean? Your TCB is a toy. It's a prop. Okay, it's there to just I want to be different right out on a tank. It's like, no, well, fine, yeah, that'll make you different, but people are going to ask why. Well, I don't know. It's a TCB. Like, I don't know. I have such angst for this tank. I hate it. But Shotzi in the ring is fine, and she loses in fairly short order to Charlotte with the figure eight. But did anyone really believe that Shotzi has any kind of chance to beat Charlotte? I mean, Shotzi has a negative chance of beating Charlotte in this match. She is there to simply enhance or reestablish Charlotte, keep her sharp. I don't know how they couldn't have just made that the story of why Charlotte wanted a match. The announcers made a big deal about it. Like Wade Barrett was saying it was a dumb move and she could get hurt, and Shotzi's an unpredictable competitor. And it's like, no. And who was it? Was it Cole who said that? Well, she's a fighting champion. It's like, okay, well, the championship's not on the line. Okay, so sure, but that's not what's at stake here, there, Cole. But they could have just said she's trying to stay sharp. Okay, that's it. And they couldn't come up with that. So I was like sitting there like, guys, this is easy right here. Stop with all the nonsense. You could have just said that Charlotte's trying to, hone her craft and be at the top of her game and, be ready to go. Like, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, the match, again, fairly short, Shotzi taps, but then Rhea Ripley comes out. Actually, she came out before the end of the match and then kind of squeaked, or rather slithered is a better word, into the ring to face Charlotte Flair. And Flair said that Ripley may be proud of her improvement. And Flair said that she has improved every single day of her life and that some people love her for it. Others react negatively, but it's a fact. Flair said if she wants it more, it will outwork anyone, male or female, because of how seriously she takes the business. Flair said Ripley will rip apart anyone that stands in her way, quote, except for me. That was in response to Ripley telling Flair to wipe the smug look off her face because she only sees acceptance and sees all of her insecurities. And she's going to take the one thing that makes her feel important when she becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion. So, kind of brief interaction with these two. I was maybe overestimating what the face-to-face promo would be between these two, because I don't know if Rhea Ripley's ready for that yet. For all the improvements she's made and the career year she's had, she hasn't yet had to come up with that face-to-face witty promo against her opponent. She's been in the Judgment Day, and mostly relying on the chemistry with her and Dom, her really good matches, her facial expressions. And if she's doing a promo, it's not against anyone. It's talking to a camera, so there's no one to rebut. So I think that's where she could absolutely improve. Are those, and they're not easy, especially against people that are better than you. I mean, let's just be honest. Ask Austin Theory. And it can be a little bit nerve wracking, and it can end up blowing up in your face. But that's something that Rhea Ripley has to, if she's going to take it to the top tier, has to get good at. And it can't just be only talking to the camera. You got to eventually talk to your opponent. And you know what? She did a decent job this week. And I think Flair, after her match, kind of put Rhea in her place, and that was that. So, all right. Let's see. What was next? We got Jimmy and Jey coming out. And Jey told the fans that they are not his family and they don't know what he's going through, and, quote, there's one person I blame, and that's you, Sami. He said he had to do it, quote, because I had to. Jey said, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't have a choice. I never had a choice because he is my twin, he's my brother, he's my family, and not you. He said, he looked at us and said, what would you do? And this is very telling. It was telling in a way that makes it's encouraging and leaves the door open for an eventual true Jey turning his back on Roman program. And that's coming. And that's why I also don't think another reason why, potentially, although I'm not going to give away everything, my official prediction yet for the Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns match for WrestleMania. But if you're looking for evidence that Roman's going to retain, this is one of those pieces of evidence that Jey and Roman for the title hasn't happened yet. And not for the Undisputed. So that is an interesting road to go down. It'd still be fun if they did it non-title, but Jey is in a position where if he won, people would lose their minds, I think. So they're leaving that door open, and it's, again, just one piece of evidence that you could point to and say as one of the reasons why Roman's going to retain, because they want to get to people that he hasn't faced yet, specifically in the bloodline for the belt. Just food for thought. So the other thing is, Jey is so good in this role. My God, he's so good. His facials, he's so believable. You're just kind of just sucked in to everything he does and says, and that's so crazy, and that's so when you think about where they came from. And remember the Usos when they had face paint on and they were just really good wrestlers, but that was kind of it. They didn't have anything else. That was it. That's all they did. That's all we knew them for years. It was just kind of the face paint Samoans that put on good matches. That's it. Think about where we are now. He is truly main event Jey Uso if he wanted to be. And I'm looking forward to whenever he turns. But the most important part of this, I think, again, was the acting. And Jey saying, basically, I had to do this. If I didn't, what would my family have done to me? Where would I be? This is something I don't want to do it. I just have to. So it stayed true to himself and left the door open for, hey, man, it wasn't like I was deceiving you for all these months. I did like you. I still do like you, but man, I got to do this, because of family, and you're not my blood. And what did I talk about when this whole thing was brought up, especially by Kevin Owens, when he said, you're not truly in the bloodline. You never will be. And I agreed that, eventually, obviously, Sami's going to get ousted or get beat down. And that's what happened here. But that it would come back, that blood's thicker than water, and you never were truly family. And here we are. But it's a good story to tell. I just was trying to toot my horn. Okay. So this is where Sami Zayn, he did blame Sami and said if he just fell in line, none of this would have happened. And Cody made his entrance. He stood in the aisle and then telling us that the Usos, if they're going to he stood in the entrance while telling the Usos that if they're going to talk about him, they should talk directly to him. Cody said they answer directly to Roman, and he does not. And Cody said it sounded like the fans didn't want to hear them talk, but only fight. And that's when we got Sami Zayn entering the ring and attacked Jimmy. Cody entered the ring and ended up fighting with Jey into the crowd. Jimmy left Sami at the broadcast table and tried to help Jey, but Zayn returned and joined the fight. And that's when all four men fought their way back into the ring. And Cody and Zayn cleared the Usos from the ring, and they were being held back by referees at the end of the show. So, it was, first of all, it was weird. Why was Cody there to begin with? Was he just hang out backstage and wait for someone to mention his name? That's when he was going to come out? If no one mentioned his name, would he still come out? I mean, why was Cody there? Doesn't make sense. Roman wasn't there either, even though it was kind of hinted that he was. He actually wasn't. And I think that having Sami Zayn continuing to attack the Usos makes sense. I mean, they're going to do this back and forth thing for the next 3 weeks. But Cody being the one to hold up Sami's hand, it was almost as if I think he told Sami, hey, run out of time. We got to pose for the hard cam. And he grabbed Sami and he held up Sami's hand. Why are you holding up Sami's hand? It made no sense to me. But that's the visual we got. And it was the narrative to close the show of the Usos up the aisle and Cody and Sami standing tall in the middle of the ring. So I thought it was a good show. I thought it progressed things nicely. I actually thought this week, for the first time, Raw was the bigger show. I don't know about better, but bigger. So let's switch gears here to Monday Night Raw. Give a quick recap. Kevin Owens and Solo Sikoa had a match. KO beat Sikoa. We had the Raw Women's Champion versus Carmella in a non-title match. And as imagined, we got Belair beating Carmella in about 9 minutes. We got the Miz and Logan Paul and Seth Rollins segment where Logan Paul ended up getting the best of Seth and saying bye-bye B-word and, challenging him to a match at WrestleMania, which we all know he's going to accept. And it was a solid segment. I remember coming away and having my Raw review be that this was a much better segment than I could have imagined from just a mic promo perspective. where I wasn't really high on Logan Paul. On Logan Paul, and he seems to have really kind of come into his own and embraced this heel gimmick. And good for him. He is a natural heel. We got Omos versus Ziggler. As imagined, Ziggler was, he was absolutely crushed in under a minute. We got Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano beat Finn Balor in 9 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's because of Edge. He showed up at ringside and shoved Balor off the top rope. That's when Gargano hit the DDT and got the victory. And that's what's going to lead into Monday night, which is Edge calling out Finn Balor. He said to end this once and for all, which doesn't mean they're having a match of any kind Monday night. It just means, basically, in translation, come to the ring. We're going to let everyone know what our match is at WrestleMania. That's what that really means. That's fine. We need to know. Many people have speculated Hell in a Cell. I am just of the belief, rather the hope, that this is just the last match. Right? I don't need another match. I mean, this has almost been going on for a full year. It's pretty crazy. So, but you look past Mania and you're wondering, like, where does Edge go? Where does he go from here? Does Edge continue? I would think so on his part-time schedule. That's how he's going so long, is he's able to give his body time to recover, and it's not on the road every week, and he's just playing it smart, playing the long game, and I respect that. But I do wonder who Edge is going to face after whether win or lose, or draw at Mania, hopefully not a draw. We get the end of that program and moving on Edge into who? Who does he face next? I was really of the hope again that it was going to be John Cena just based on their history, but that's clearly not happening. But speaking of John Cena, on Raw, this is one of the most talked about pieces of Monday Night Raw, and with good reason. And I've heard all opinions on this, all just from both sides here, about it being good, it being bad, about John Cena burying Theory and all that. And Theory's now dead. He can't come back from this. Theory can come back from this, okay? If Roman Reigns came back from a torching that was 4 times as bad by John Cena, if you don't know what I'm talking about, search War of Words between John Cena and Roman Reigns. It was embarrassing for Roman Reigns on so many levels. That was much more damaging, and Roman came back from that and obviously has made a ultimate career out of it. With Theory, I know that a lot of people are looking at this like John Cena didn't have to do that, and he's talking about piping in crowd noise and all this. So what? That's kind of John Cena's promo style, wouldn't you rather have this version of Cena than the one that talks about eggplant emojis? Hell yeah. And the thing is, you just need to have someone beat John Cena at his own game. And I don't know how much they prepare for these promos, meaning both John Cena and Theory. And if Theory knows what John Cena is going to say and all that, I don't know. I doubt that they both know exactly what they're going to say. They just give each other their best shots. And John Cena talks, about a lot of meta stuff, right? About Theory and him being, a pair of trunks away from being a jabroni, and again, the piped in crowd noise. And then Theory comes back and talks about John Cena's bald spot, which is hilarious. Theory's good on the mic. He's no John Cena, but what you need to do against John Cena, if you're going to battle him in a kind of realistic way on TV, is you need to do what he's doing. Don't talk about him. Don't talk about the same things that people always talk about with Cena. Don't talk about him being he buries the talent. He's the 5 moves of doom. No. Don't take that stuff. John Cena is well equipped to handle those things that people have been saying about him for 20 years. You need to take a different approach. You can't, and you also can't talk about it. Oh, well, you're part-time, right? That argument's out the window. So you just need to, you want to get meta with John Cena? Then go meta. Beat him at his own game. You know, I just, can anyone beat John Cena on the mic? Only one person. He's not in WWE. His initials are MJF. So I think MJF could beat John Cena on the mic. I really do. That'll be fun. There's my call for WrestleMania 40. MJF versus John Cena. God, I'd love that. All right. Piper Niven versus Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross got killed in this match. Bad match. We got, again, the whole Cena and Theory segment that lasted quite a while. And Chad Gable versus Baron Corbin. Chad Gable got a victory for the first time in 6 months. That was good. We got a bit of a segment here between Trish and Bayley, or Trish and Bayley and Becky, setting up a 6-woman tag team match with Damage Control at WrestleMania. Damage Control is just ice cold. I mean, let's be honest. Sami Zayn versus Jimmy Uso. Sami Zayn beat Jimmy Uso in 10 minutes. And this is obviously the infamous turn by Jey on Sami. And that's what led to the SmackDown explanation that I just talked about at the beginning of the show. So overall, a pretty eventful week in WWE, headlined by John Cena torching Theory and Jey turning on Sami. Those are kind of the big two stories. And if you guys want to hear about a crazy theory I have with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and something he could do that no one's talking about, check out Patreon. I posted a video earlier today about that very thing that came across my mind. It's just a couple-minute video. You don't have to dedicate a ton of time. But if you're on the SmackDown tier and higher, you can check it out. I flesh out a crazy idea that I'm sure isn't going to happen, but it's in the realm of possibility in order to maximize Brock Lesnar's value to the company. It's wild, but it's plausible. So check that out if you're interested, and go on Patreon. It's on the SmackDown tier and higher. You can access my videos. So, all right. I think that'll do it for me tonight, guys. I appreciate your support. If you want to give us some support beyond going to patreon.com/WWE podcast or Apple Podcasts, going ad-free, by clicking the ad-free button, you can do that by giving us a 5-star rating. That's free. 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts does really help us out. Or WWEpodcast.com, go VIP there and give yourself an ad-free experience heading into WrestleMania season, because Lord knows we've got a lot more audio to go. We've got a lot more audio to go as we head into WrestleMania season and beyond. And I'm already looking past WrestleMania, things that could happen, and I don't think when WrestleMania ends that the fun is going to end this year. There's a lot of things that are going to continue past WrestleMania that we'll get into as the weeks go on. But 3 weeks, guys, this is also launch week for 2K23. If you're into WWE 2K23, this is your week. I have been on the fence about not getting it, but what version I want, whether I want the standard, the deluxe, or the, the icon, the iconic, or something like that version, which will run you about $120. It's crazy. But that is your launch week. You can also play the game early on March 14th if you order the deluxe or higher. I'm not being paid to tell you that. I just wanted to tell you if you're into the video game stuff like I am. And so that, I think that'll do it for me this week, guys. I really do appreciate all of your support. Many of you have been very kind in your words. Others have been critical, and I do take criticism the best I can. I really do. If you don't like something with the show and you want to see it improved, by all means, tell me, right? I had somebody do that today, and I'm just like, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate anyone telling me how to help the show get better. That's what I want. But, we did get a new patron, Dan Reek Young. All right. I do appreciate your support, Dan Reek. You're going to enjoy a lot of content, hundreds of episodes ad-free. It's $1 a month. Ain't that bad. So thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Take care. And yes, I will talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.